Is up. So, last time on A Crown of Cold Iron, our party has returned from their excursion into Fairy, various victories in tow, and are now pursuing various points of interest and leads back in the city of Queensboro. One of the leads you have been chasing after most recently is the strange figure of Roland Albrecht, this mysterious individual who has been appearing in fighting rings throughout the city for the last 6-ish months, sort of mysteriously appearing, whooping a bunch of very powerful people, and then disappearing, which is odd for a human. And a human of probably, I think you all decided, in his 50s. So you all have been tracking after him ever since you saw a strange, locked and hidden memory in the mind of Lady Bren. You saw this figure, Roland, seemingly banish the Kate C with basically a backhand. So that memory was locked and buried. You managed to very delicately pry it out, and you have been hunting after him. It has led you to Little Sylvain, the Fey Enclave in Queensboro, where most of the everyday Fey live. The folks who are not Lady Bren or Lord Llewellyn, the folks other than Auric, who's kind of a weirdo who lives with humans mostly.
You weirdo.
This is where in a couple of blocks there are thousands of Fey. The number is growing and they're spreading across more of the city because over the last few months the immigration numbers have increased. But this is still the densest concentration by far. And you all have maybe found some interesting. They're not necessarily clues, but they're something. A strange, sort of nascent portal of incredible size and power, seeming to grow organically up underneath Little Sylvain. In the process of searching for Roland, you discovered it underneath the apartment building. You met a somewhat judgmental but fashionable tailor and his daughter. And you all are standing, I think, just inside the door of the corner market where Charlene works, who is one of Roland's neighbors that you were recommended to go see. The door had just slipped out of Cyrus's hand and slammed shut, causing Charlene, this green-haired, purple-eyed young woman, to sort of start and jump, and there's some real like panic there. You all recognize this is not just like, oh, that was a loud noise. This seems to be a trigger for something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we left you all just sort of at the door. What would you like to do?
I would like to give my goofiest, biggest grin and wave as if in the most disarming way possible.
Okay. Did the door shut behind us or
Yes.
okay.
Very loudly.
Yeah, definitely some oops faces and did I do that?
Let's have Auric give us a persuasion check here.
I can do that. How's a 26 sound?
She is put at ease.
You manage to cover, and some of it is this natural charisma. Some of it is Auric just kind of being like a warm, open person. A lot of it has to do with looking, and you are very clearly not human.
Yeah.
Her eyes linger for a second on Lexi and Cyrus, but again, you are sort of the party passport here. If like Lexi had come here by herself, the reception would likely not be as warm. What do y'all want to do?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously we want to ask about Roland, but do you
We're in
want
a
to do?
corner store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people were coming out of here with like scrolls, right?
Yes, there were some unusual scrolls that you did not know the immediate purpose of. And it very much has that like dense downtown bodega kind of vibe. The shelves are fairly tall. Lots of shelves on each shelving unit. Just a dense collection of stuff. It looks even a little more random than usual. Auric, you might see a little touch of yourself, and Lexi and Cyrus, you see the Auric in it. This selection seems to have come from someone with a just similarly like broad and uh, I don't want to say kitschy, but like very sort of non-judgmental tone in selecting the items that went in here. There are just like way more brands than expected. There's a lot of like little souvenir things, weird products that like a sort of standard store wouldn't have. And you do notice there's a large like rack of these scrolls down by the front.
Like by the checkout.
Yeah, they're actually on like a little like spinning display thing, so someone can like spin it around and pull one out.
Perfect. I'm going to go up and take a look at that.
So up above, it has the Sylvan word for sending, and each scroll is about 10 gold marks.
Got it.
Okay.
These work across into Fairy?
Do you want to do an Arcana check or just go ahead and ask?
I'm asking.
Charlene, there's a customer kind of checking out, but they're seem like a regular. They're not really like it's not an intense conversation. She looks up and goes, "Oh, so they're not like um, have you been here a while?
Yeah, decent amount.
Do you have you ever seen one of these?" And she points at like calling cards, like phone cards.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
She says, they're kind of like that, I think. I don't really know very well how they work, but they're supposed to be places where if you use it in the right place here, and the person you want to send to is in the right place there, they can hear you and you can hear them for a couple minutes.
I guess that explains why they're so popular. Keep seeing people coming out with them.
Yeah, a lot of folks they weren't all allowed to come,
Right.
so there's a lot of folks to check in with, and I think it's been here since pretty early on. I don't know how any of it works, but this is all kind of interspersed by like the swipe, boop, 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 boop.
Who stocks them? I mean, I'm assuming she doesn't enchant them herself. So
No, it's from somebody in the neighborhood. I don't know if they were the ones who put it together or someone just taught them how to do it, but they kind of put them together for everybody.
Okay. So did you say you haven't been here long then?
I've been here. I've been here a couple of years.
Okay. Longer than me.
It's a lot to get used to.
Hmm.
Give me an insight check now that you're a little closer.
Woo, inside check. Crit.
Nice.
All right.
That was a 23 sound.
This woman is just very nervous. And I don't mean like she's not nervous of something in particular, but she just has like an anxious air about her. Even in this short conversation, you see her like looking out the windows more than is normal. Every time someone goes by, especially folks who go by who. There are some Fae who kick the ring of seeming on before they leave the neighborhood. There are some Fae who are just less. They're not as obviously non-human. Folks who don't have some kind of immediate unusual feature, she kind of tenses a little more.
Lexi is wondering who she needs to go beat up.
Now that you're standing this close, you can see that there are. Her ring of seeming is hiding this pattern of like. It's hard to tell if they're shining scales or shining stones, but they make like a pattern around her face, and then there are opalescent wings that come off her back.
Pretty.
But it's with a really good inside check and being close and being kind of a magic-y person. Her ring of seeming is like overclocked. You've never seen one that like you have to get this close to like fully see through it. Even standing like 2 or 3 feet away, it still kind of flickers a little. And you've not seen that with anyone else. In fact, until this moment, you didn't even know someone could do this to a ring of seeming.
What did you say she looks like underneath it again? Opalescent and
Yeah, there's almost like it's either scales or stones, like sort of stony growths, but they're sort of bright and shining, and they sort of frame her face at the edges, and then the purple of her eyes is actually like her entire the entire sphere of her eye is this sort of swirling purple, almost like there's a mist inside of it, and then sort of impossibly colorful butterfly wings with sort of a variety and intensity of shades that is not indigenous to the material plane.
Mhm.
Shouldn't use material plane. I should specifically say human plane.
We noticed the graffiti out front. Do the crowns come into this neighborhood often?
Give me a persuasion check with disadvantage. can tell the allergies are running strong through our group right now.
18.
With an 18. Um, you see her tense a little bit. You've seen this a few times. So first, this is not a topic she wants to discuss. Second, you are not visibly fey. And third, we've seen a couple of folks who, even if they can't immediately identify it, there is sometimes something unsettling about your nature to the fey. But you speak in a very calm tone. You're a professional. You have sort of training for this. And building kind of off of Oryx's really good role there. Between the two, she's kind of softening a little. Also, Joe, I think your camera's frozen, and in kind of like a disturbing, like there it goes. It was just like a very like.
Well,
It was freaking me out a little bit. The part of Joe tonight is being played by a wax dummy. So yeah, you manage to kind of get through to her just a little bit, and she gets very quiet. You know, you didn't like yell that, but just to kind of frame the image here, she's behind the counter, still, boop, boop, boop. And folks are kind of going through the line. You all are to the side. And some of the folks kind of give you a little bit of a look for bringing this up. And she says, yeah. Our store is... Our store was one of the first stores in the neighborhood. And this was sort of the first block of Little Sylvain. And you know, it's right on the edge there, and yeah. And you notice that she's giving you a lot of information without really answering your question. But it feels less like she's trying to hide something and more like she's trying not to poke at something that's going to hurt.
Mm.
I think Cyrus will respond in Sylvan. I'm sorry to hear that. We've met a few. They're all pricks.
She manages a little bit of a chuckle at that. There's some... You hear sort of the sound of shuffling, and then sort of tiny slapping feet, and a kid of kind of indeterminate fey nature runs out and says, I finished sweeping, Miss Charlene. And she sort of warms up and smiles, maybe for the first time since you've seen her, and says, okay, Twill, you can have one candy bar, just like we agreed on. And he says, okay. And it's like immediately like looking through all of them down in front, like trying to find just the right candy bar.
Ooh, pick that one. That's my favorite.
Ooh, I like that one too. All right. and he gets it, and he like runs the door, and there's a little. It's like just barely behind the counter, and sort of deposits the broom there, and then like waves really big, and is already like opening his candy bar and tearing off a bite as he runs outside.
Yeah. He's eating slow. I would have already had the whole thing in my throat.
She gives it kind of a muted smile. Sorry. Yeah. Is there anything else I can like help y'all with, or?
Yeah, so we were here in town looking for Roland. Do you know where he is?
Man, you've already got really good checks on the board. So I share this information on the basis of the checks you've already made. She's not just like generally giving this information. But you've started to kind of set up a good vibe here. And she says, "Oh, you all know? Do you all know Mr. Albrecht?"
More by reputation than personally.
We have some mutual connections.
Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't seen him a lot lately. He's been sort of coming and going. More going than coming, I guess. I will get a fresh insight roll for this.
Fair enough.
Everybody?
Yeah, anybody who wants to.
I only got an 11 this time.
Man, that was very much on the low end. So Cyrus, you missed this. Auric, I think maybe you're standing a little bit closer, and the ring of seeming. You've not had to worry about it as much, but you all have discovered that like Auric tends to see through a ring of face or a ring of seeming more easily. She like nervously sheds a little like magical like glittering pollen off of her wings. Not like activating an ability or something, but like almost as like a nervous tick. Like there's a tell here. And you see her kind of get that now familiar sort of 1,000-yard stare. Would you like to take a little magical peek?
Yeah, I think I should.
So letting your insight kind of roll here. So you've seen this 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah.
You've seen the sort of powerful compulsion on Lady Bran. And you've seen these sort of like gentle we compared it to like a buried bomb shelter behind like a vault door in Lady Bran's case. to like a gentle shoelace bow for like Banner and some of the others. Auric, I think maybe it's some of the physicality that gives it away more so than the magic. So now you've seen this sort of like gentle tie. And it's only because you know what it's supposed to look like that you realize that she almost has. It's almost more like a decorative, like a non functional tie. She is faking the same arcane signature as everyone else.
Fake it.
It's not a powerful magic, but it's a very subtle and talented work. Very, very delicate. She has created the sort of false impression of the same kind of obscuring that you've seen on everyone else. But it is like not attached to anything. It's just sort of sitting there, almost like an illusion.
Huh. I I don't know how to respond to that. Also, I think Maisie just got distracted by her own reflection, so I got distracted by her.
Her tail is puffed up.
A very auric thing to get distracted by.
Yes. Um, I don't want to do anything too hostile, especially A, with customers around, and B, because she's not exactly an enemy. But I think I'm going to let it fly, and instead I'm going to pretend like it's the same as everything else. And I'll just say, you know, I appreciate it, and here's my card. If you happen to see him, could you have him call me?
Who?
Roland.
She's straight up pretending.
Yeah. Your neighbor Roland?
Oh, Mr. Albrecht?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. She rolled so bad on that deception check, guys.
Wait, do we all know she's faking, or just Auric knows?
Auric knows. Just, I mean, to give you a numerical range, what she rolled was higher than what Cyrus got, but lower than what Auric got. And she's got like a +4 or 5 for deception.
I'm kind of looking down at my card and looking over at Cyrus, seeing if he's caught it and if he can do anything to track it the same way that he does with his fingernails and stuff. But since he rolled like a 5 on the inside, I'm guessing he probably doesn't pick up any of my signals.
I mean, I would say Cyrus doesn't miss much. There's an occasional lapse. I mean, in this case, you have a little bit of an advantage because you're seeing through more of the Ring of Seeming. Cyrus, I think as soon as you see Auric kind of like mugging furiously over here, like you're like, oh, okay, something's happening. Is Lexi perusing the store while this is going on?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh. See if they have any spider boar jerky.
What?
It's so good. You got to try some. Do you have any?
Some of the other Fae are nodding, like, "Oh yeah, Spider-Boar jerky's super good." And but Charlene says, "No, they won't clear it for customs. They say meat that is inherently poisonous doesn't pass food inspection."
It's only technically okay, more than technically poisonous, but still.
Poisonous to whom?
Only the people with weak stomachs.
As you're saying this, there's like a. It's not Mr. Pevins, but it's someone who looks like they could be related. Is like crudely holding like like a partial. They just finished drinking like a soda, and then just start like chewing the can with every sign of enjoyment, and it's like, yep.
Yeah. This guy knows what's going on.
This guy would have no problems eating that jerky.
Damn. Well, I guess if there's not spider board jerky, I don't know. You mind if I just well, it's a corner store. I guess you probably don't mind if I just look around and see if there's anything else that I might want.
Oh, yeah, we encourage it.
Look for your favorite treats.
So it is truly an eclectic collection of stuff. And there is a lot of the like, I don't know. It's almost like someone looked at like a wholesale catalog and just ordered everything. Like I don't even know what the equivalent would be, but it's like, it's even got a lot of stuff from like other countries, but not like authentic items. The equivalent of like Taco Bell branded stuff from like from Tress. Tress, Kala, Morden.
I
All
get
right.
like a shopping cart full of knockoff junk food.
Yeah, they have weird stuff. Like yeah, they've got like the potato chips that are in the flavors you can't buy at the normal grocery store and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, Cyrus, you got to try these. You got to try these, Cyrus.
Sure. Pick them up. I think Cyrus is gonna try to push again. He's like, look, we're not here to get Roland in trouble. We think Roland could help us with a friend of ours. They have some connection in their history, and we're just trying to figure out what it is.
Let's call this a fresh persuasion check from Cyrus. We'll call it flat. Y'all have laid down some pretty good checks up to this point.
It wanted to be a 17. It was so close to being the 17.
Uh, um, so you're down in front. You're shopping, right? So Cyrus, give me a Constitution saving throw. It's gonna be very, very low. That did beat it. That did clear it.
Very low versus even lower.
If Auric was standing there, he could tell you that when you press it again, Charlene like shudders just a little bit and involuntarily releases more of that glittering dust from her wings. And Cyrus, your first indication is this smell of sweetness. Whatever Cyrus's like favorite sweet something is, it smells a little bit like that. But it also has a feeling like almost like you've been sitting like you're at the dentist for some more substantial procedure, and you've been starting to breathe in the is it nitrous oxide they use, and you're right at that moment where you're like, this isn't affecting me, and then when you try to think it, it comes out a little like distorted or slurred or confused, and you go, oh, it is affecting me. So you're not like mechanically disoriented, but you feel the edge of something. But it doesn't seem like it was on purpose. But it does seem like she spooked again a little.
But does she didn't say anything?
Um, let's think how she replies here. I think that she says something like, uh, "I, you can't." I shouldn't. She's sort of visibly a little distressed. Um, Everybody, give me a perception check.
Mm-hmm. Well, better than it could have been.
Let's see. Perception. Where are you? There you are. 15.
Lexi, you just hear the faintest clap of thunder in the distance.
Okay.
So I guess the rest of you don't notice that, but you can feel the energy in here starting to get a little weird. Whether that is just sort of the social vibe of like you all have been, at least one of you has been standing here kind of prodding at her a little bit for a minute or two now, or whether it's something more supernatural, but the vibe in the room is shifting in a way that is not necessarily welcoming. Uh, I'll give him your friend's card.
Okay.
I come back in with my basket full of junk food. Hey, Lexi, you want anything?
But
It
she's done her own collecting.
it is starting to rain a little bit outside. And sort of out ahead of the rain is the air almost has, as someone sort of opens the door, the air has gotten a sort of warm, almost sort of tropical feeling. That sort of heavy, warm, wet air. You can see like sort of fogging and condensation where the AC inside is meeting the humidity outside along the window.
Do you happen to sell umbrellas?
She gestures, and there are indeed umbrellas over by the door.
Thanks.
Rain is starting to come down a little more heavily now.
Not sure I want to go out in that actually.
Hmm.
There are some of those like big like overhangs
Okay.
outside, and they're not quite like all the way down, but at least across the storefronts they are. Across sort of the apartment complex entrances, it's a little further apart.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Sarah. So, last question, and then I promise I'm done. Do you need anybody to watch? Do you need anybody to watch the store in case anybody comes back to cause trouble?
She's really quiet for a minute. And then she says, in just the quiet, almost a whisper, and if it wasn't a reply to a direct question, you might not even catch it. But she says, someone's always watching over the store. And almost perfectly timed, you catch it this time. When she says that, this time the thunder shakes the windows.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Which of these chocolate bars is your favorite?
She points one out.
Here, I'm buying one for you. Thanks, bye.
Chocolate's always good for the soul.
She sort of smiles a little. Y'all
What the
gonna?
heck? I think Sarah. I'm just gonna. What the heck? I'm gonna try. Cyrus will nod, say, "Thanks for your time." Walk outside and just be like, "All right, let's talk."
Um, as soon as you step outside and say that, um, your attention is drawn. There are about 8, 9, 10 people sort of congregating on the like across the street, kind of leaning up against the wall that Oric had partially cleared the other day. This day, like 10 minutes ago. but there is a group of people sort of gathering over there.
Like fey people or human people?
Distinctly human people.
Hey guys, how's it going?
A few of them look up at you, and they give you a look because you're still in Dragonborn mode. They give you a look like a dog just talked. There is not there is an emptiness to the look that says that there is a fundamental disconnect between you all. Although, here's a fun moment. Auric, something something more impatient, something a little more prideful, maybe, than Auric normally carries himself, bubbles up to the surface a little bit. And it's almost like you become aware of a button in front of you that you didn't know was there before. You don't know exactly what it would look like, but you feel like there is something you could do in response to that you were not aware of before.
I think Oric has to press the metaphorical button.
Give me an intimidation check with advantage.
This will be fun. Only a 24.
The guy who gave you the specifically like very disdainful look, he with a 24, he rocks backwards and he like falls to a knee and then just like slowly like not dead, but has like almost like he has been struck a psychic blow, and immediately his friends are looking at him like, what?
It just kicked me out for some reason.
You can almost see it now. There is an invisible arcing line that connects you to these 8 or 9 humans.
I suppose if you're going to bear my mark, then on your knees is the proper place to be.
How hard do you think that?
Hard enough that I think I mutter it under my breath.
Go ahead and give me another intimidation check with advantage.
Only 18 this time.
So it's a little more diffuse because you're sort of washing it out over a larger group. But you still see, like, quite literally all of their knees, like, reflexively bend, like 40%. It's enough that it almost looks like someone has just pushed all of them down. And there's starting to be like real like confusion and panic and alarm. Some of them are like low key, like reaching for like concealed weapons and like looking around trying to understand what's happening.
It's time to go home now, kids. The grown-ups are talking.
Cyrus, go ahead and give me an intimidation check with advantage. So, in this moment, you can see it too. And there is this sort of one directional line that goes from Auric out to them. But you also catch there's a different sort of line between the two of you. And for just a second, when you say this to them, all of those lines from them snap to you for a second. And they don't see this sort of admittedly spooky, but very sort of mundane looking man standing there. For just a second, they catch a glimpse of a towering, dark raven. The thing beneath the Raven Palace. And for just a second, they see it in its fullness. And they break. And they run. They don't even run the same direction. Like half of them go up the block and half of them go down the block. They leave some empty beer cans and some spray paint cans. Even like a couple of like knives just all got like dropped, and they run. And you can almost see stretching behind them sort of phantasmal the phantasmal impression of ravens, not even so much visual as the sound of these pursuing corvids. And they flee. But oddly, both of you now are aware of these lines. This isn't something that like goes away. It becomes sort of faded the farther away they get. But it's almost like you now have this bundle of strands that you can lay your hand on, which is like Kingsguard Doofus 1 through 9. And both of you can feel it.
Lexi's just standing behind them clapping, even if she can see the lines or not, it doesn't matter. She will stand there and clap, slow clap for them. Good job, boys. I was about to be out of bubblegum.
So as you all stand there and kind of, presumably with some smug self-satisfaction, watch them flee, this gathering storm sort of parts for a moment. And a shaft of like warm golden sunlight falls sort of vaguely around you all. And with this bright light shining in your eyes, you become aware of a figure on top of a building, like across the street, looking down. And there is enough brightness that it's hard to see much more than a silhouette. But everybody give me a perception check with disadvantage.
Great, I've already got a +0.
You're staring into the sun.
Oh, okay. With disadvantage, still a 15.
I got an 11.
This is
Had to throw away a nat 20.
Oh.
sometimes the dice just shake out just in a kind of way. Lexi and Cyrus, you're kind of blinded by this light. Auric, it's not so much that you see.
It's that you know.
There is a sense of recognition. As you sort of look up through this pillar of light, as you feel this pulsing of this nascent portal beneath little Sylvain, the boom 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 boom. There is something painfully familiar about this figure that's looking down at you. And you see the actual human silhouette, the humanoid silhouette, is not particularly of interest. It's obscured by the light. But almost because you know what you're looking for, what you see instead is the impression of elegant, sweeping antlers, almost like of a silvery wood, and floating delicately, almost sort of suspended between them, is something that shimmers silvery and fragmented. And there is another booming roar of thunder, another one that sort of shakes the windows. And this break in the sky widens and becomes brighter. And in the second you kind of like wince and blink your eyes, this figure is gone. And it looks normal now. The clouds don't just disappear, but they break in a sort of normal way and continue to be blown through the air overhead. What do you all want to do?
They called me a drama queen. We want to check anything else while we're here in Little Sylvain?
I don't know how else to get his attention, or get his
Well.
attention more.
Yeah. I was about to say, I think we've accomplished our task. I also now have this to deal with. I start plucking at these
Strings.
Somewhere like 3 blocks away, some jerk trying to get into his truck suddenly like twitches and falls and doesn't know why.
Well, at least that'll be useful for when we decide to do something about the Kingsguard.
Mm-hmm.
Once we figure out what to do about the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
Just for grins and giggles, Auric, give me an Arcana check with advantage.
Oh. At least advantage got rid of a natural one.
Yep.
Ooh.
I think you're just sort of like your mind is sort of a little bit burnt out right this second. But there is something about it's hard to sort out all the different things that you now have to juggle. But this connection reminds you of a description you read about something somewhere. You have seen or read or heard a description of a phenomenon that sounds a lot like this.
Okay. I can always go to our resident scholars. Speaking of, I can't remember if I've actually how much I have said to Vela.
Um, and it's kind of up to you. I mean, you did get her like, she did set you up with that sort of memory chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and she was with you all.
Yeah.
So like, there might be some specifics to fill in, but she's got at least some big pieces of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know that you have told her anything about Roland or Lady Bryn, but at least the stuff that relates to you, she's been kind of front row seat for a lot of that.
Right. And I also think we'll just fill in some of the blanks behind the scenes and sometime after the memory chamber, maybe even after the castle with Mort. I just kind of walked in and I was in the human form and I just popped open my phone to a picture of a painting of King Bran. I was like, so
This is a thing.
Vela is not surprised by this. If anything, Vela is. We almost see like we switch to like a montage cutaway, and it's like all these little things of like. It's all these little moments that you didn't know that Vela noticed something that you didn't. And so we see like Auric asleep in bed and he's like talking in his sleep, but he's talking in like ancient common and Vela is like recording it and is like transcribing it while you're sleeping.
Yep.
And we
That
see
I
her
can picture.
we see her like, on days that you're not there, she's in like her private study and Barnabas is like bringing stacks of books on like pre-Sundering history and certain like ancient magics and history of the Raven King and all these sort of texts and she's like, oh yeah. There's not quite like a head pat moment, but there's definitely like she might have gotten here first. So I think as you all are sort of standing on this corner, this sun is sort of streaming down around you. You're sort of talking about your plans. Just for fun, everybody just give me a flat D20 roll.
Oh, sure. Now I roll a 16.
A 9.
All right. Cyrus, give me a strength saving throw.
Nice.
All right. You are not knocked off your feet as you all are having this conversation with almost no sound announcing it. the biggest dog you have ever seen, like shoulders past you, and thankfully you're just like exactly standing the way you need to be, and it just sort of like nudges you to the side instead of bowling you over, as it sort of pulls past, pulling a kid on a leash or with a leash.
No, I think you had it right the first time.
Well, yeah, it kind of feels that way. Uh, a very pale, fair complexion, golden hair, sort of tucked up under a "I Heart the Burrow" hat,
Who is walking who?
and the dog drags this kid down the street, and they turn and head deeper into Little Sylvain.
Nice hat.
Oh, thanks. I got it in town. And I think we close with just a little moment of sort of strange recognition as all three of you have the same thought, as the dog sort of nudges the kid, and for just a second you hear this. You would swear you hear a voice, a humanoid voice, that says to the kid, "Don't talk to strangers." And that's where we will leave it for this week. So some scheduling as we look ahead. I will not be able to run next week or the next week or the 19th.
Okay.
And I assume the holidays will interfere with potentially
Right.
some others, but just to have that on the calendar. And I'll go ahead and cut off our stream.
Recording stopped.